Greetings. We are the Ministry of the Real Truth, and we strive through our YouTube channel and our video presentations to bring you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. We have a policy. Honesty is our best policy. Today, we felt that it is time to do a comparison between what is written in the everyday Bible, i.e. the Americanized, modernized Bible versions translated into English, about the Exodus, and compare it with what is recorded, carved in stone in ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet, according to an expert. The book of Exodus, the ancient or the old book of Exodus, was written and part of a compilation by ancient old scribes and monks around 800 BCE in Urhai or Edessa, who spoke and wrote or recorded in the very ancient or very old Assyrian Aramaic or Ketav Asherit or Ketav Hotep. This ancient language they used was called Lishana Atika or Lishana Cypriot. So this native-born Mesopotamian Victor Alexander has translated it faithfully into English. So we are going to have a look at that, as we said, and we're going to compare it with the what was supposed to be recorded, carved in stone at Egypt, according to a man named Dr.Ben, who was highly qualified in his day. This is the ancient book of Exodus, or Liberation. Exodus should have really been translated as Liberation, because that is what the word means in the original Hebrew Aramaic, or Aramaic Hebrew language. Map Kana, Exodus, implies that the children of Israel were ousted, or expelled, kicked out, when in fact they were liberated by the Lord to become a nation that would serve his purpose, and they did serve his purpose. At that time, Victor N. Alexander states he came back to translate the book of Exodus. He'd stopped translating it after he completed chapter 1, but then he saw the need to return to it. He had begun translating the book of Isaiah because he wished to translate more about the coming of the Messiah. However, events in the US justice system at that time made him realize the importance of the laws that were given to Moses in the Ten Commandments. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, here is the book of Exodus, right, 17. Okay. So basically, sum it up. I won't dwell on it too long. The patriarch Abraham went into Egypt, and things happened there according to the scriptures, and then he leaves with all these treasures, etc. He actually does it a couple of times in the Bible, and then it leads up to where, after the supposed king or pharaoh Joseph, or that important Joseph in the Bible, right, died, there was another pharaoh or king that didn't recognize or acknowledge Joseph, right, his predecessor. So, seeing that Egypt, or ancient Kemet, was overpopulated, they decided to put them to work to supposedly build their pyramids, their statues, etc. So they were really harsh on them. They ran out of mortar or something, so they gave them straw and all that sort of stuff, which was made it even worse. And then they were really mean to them, all that sort of stuff, according to this book of Exodus, right? possibly what happened here, what is written here, right? The same sort of thing. Okay, so the one of their people during that conflict, that hard times, was born, but the Pharaoh had declared that all Hebrew males under 2 years old be drowned in the River Nile, probably to cut down the population. So this was ordered by the king or the Pharaoh. So these Egyptians went out and did that, but one Hebrew or Israelite woman decided to hide her child. She loved her child, so she put him in a boat of reeds and these bulrushes, and he floated down the Nile, but he was watched by his sister Miriam. The king's daughter came to bathe in the Nile, and she saw this basket, opened it up, and there's this baby in there. She just fell instantly in love, head over heels. So she took this baby back to the Egyptian courts and raised her as his own son, which brings up some questions, right? Okay. If your daughter brings home this strange baby, aren't you going to question it? Okay. Aren't you going to go, where'd you get that, And look at it, think, well, this don't look like an Egyptian one, etc., etc. Okay, so he grows up in the Egyptian court, raised by this woman under the king, okay, in the Egyptian courts, and he learns all the Egyptian, how to write Egyptian, etc., all their customs, traditions, religion, etc., right? And he goes out looking at over these people that are being ruled over by these Egyptians and treated badly. And one day he sees a fellow Egyptian beating one of these supposed Hebrews or Israelites, right? So he looks left and right, and then he kills this Egyptian, okay, which breaks one of the 42 laws of Ma'at, right? He kills him and he buries him, hoping that no one will see him. But apparently 2 Hebrews saw him, and then whispered about him, and he ends up getting found out. So supposedly he gets kicked out of Egypt, the old Charlton Heston 10 Commandments movie, and he wanders around the desert for 40 years or whatever, and comes back, okay, because he was on a mountain and supposedly a bush spoke to him, okay. Whereas in this ancient book of Exodus, the original, Moses wasn't talked to by a bush, by God through a burning bush. He was talked to from God sitting on a flaming, flying disc, or standing upon it, okay. And he couldn't look at God because God's too holy, pure, whatever. He couldn't see his true form. So God tells him he can't. No man can do that and hope to live. He'll die, right? So his hair goes white. So he goes back to the people, and they say, "Oh, he's truly seen God." They're not saying he's actually looked upon God, right? If those scriptures say, God warned me, you can't, or you or no man can look upon God and hope to live, right? You'll die. Okay? So what they're saying in their Eastern mindset, or the expression, is that he was in the presence of God. That's what they mean by seen. Okay, it's like having in the Hebrew or the Aramaic heart, right? Written in English, heart, when it's actually translated as mind. Okay. So he gets called to go to Egypt and rescue the people because they've been crying out to him, over the 400 years or whatever, save us, save us. So he goes back, and he's a stutterer and all that sort of stuff. Apparently his brother Aaron gets to speak for him, but he goes back and he says, "Let my people go, let my people go." You know how it goes. And after all this resistance, this king, this pharaoh, ends up getting these 10 plagues, right? Gnats and flies and animals dying, and then eventually the firstborn of Egypt dies and all this sort of stuff. That's the story according to your modern Americanized Bible versions translated into English. So we're going to have a look here, if we can. Okay, here that's basically it in a nutshell. But here it has some strange, not seen in your English Bible versions, scriptures, right? And Moses said to Jesus, Jesus? Jesus the Messiah? Select yourself some men and go out and do battle with Amalek tomorrow, and behold, I will stand at the top of the hill with the staff of God in my hand. Okay, and Jesus did as Moses instructed him and went out to do battle with Amalek, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went up to the top of the hill. So this people of the Amalekites, apparently they got wiped out altogether. No remnants, according to the scriptures, later on. Okay, and his hands got tired, so they took a stone and consecrated it under him, and he sat on it. And Jesus broke Amalek and his people by the edge of the sword, okay, and so forth. So what the heck is Jesus doing in there? Okay, here we go, 17:9. Just highlight that for you. And Moses said to Jesus, select yourself some men. This footnote here states Aramaic, literal Aramaic, Eoshua or Isho, transliterated as Joshua in English language Bibles. The spelling in Aramaic for Jesus and Joshua is identical. And further on, I think it's in Nahum or Micah, he actually makes a statement that his name was Jesus Bar Nun. We'll do another video on that later. Okay. So 17:15, and Moses built an altar and called its name the Lord Tested. Footnote, Ma, literal Aramaic name, Ma Ya Nisi, okay, because Ma means Lord, Ya, Lord God. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that's what happens with Moses, right? He goes in and he delivers the people. They gather up all this stuff, some Egyptians, gold and stuff like that, and they go out into the desert and they moan and groan, but yeah, they end up surviving out there because God's with them. They become the chosen people. Moses goes up on a mountain, comes back with 10 tablets. They're mucking around with the golden calf, all that sort of stuff. So he gets frustrated and smashes them, and people suffer because they made a molten calf. They were bored out of the gold and they danced around, all that sort of stuff. I think it's called it's got an Egyptian name. Yeah, this calf is an Egyptian image, and they were worshipping that, dancing around, all that sort of stuff, right? So the 10 Commandments are made anew. Yeah, it goes further on. Have a look in the English Bible. They're refreshed, okay, and then these people are given these 613 Levitical laws, etc. Okay, it goes on like that. Read it for yourself. Okay, but in here it'll probably be completely different. Okay, and goes on about that, about Moses and the people in the desert. Exodus 19, on the third month after the liberation of the children of Israel from Egypt, on that same day they came to the desert of Sin, and they took up from the Rephidim and came to the desert of Sinai, and they camped there in the desert, and there Israel rested before the mountain. That's that holy mountain of God. Okay. And Moses climbed up toward God, and God called him from the mountain, saying, this is what you shall say to the house of Jacob, or Israel, because his name was changed. And the Israelites are the descendants of Jacob or Israel, i.e. the Israelites, as it shows here, the children of Israel. You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, he's talking about the plagues, etc., as I took you up like on the wings of the eagle and brought you to me. Now if you truly listen to my voice and uphold my covenant, or his promise and agreement to them, you shall be more beloved to me than all the nations of the earth. Okay, so they were the chosen. They are more beloved than anybody else. Okay, that's what it states right there. You shall be more beloved to me than all the nations of the earth, because this earth is mine, and you shall be for me a kingdom and high priest and a holy nation. These are the explanations you shall give to the house of Israel. That's the people, right? The Israelites, the children of Israel. Okay. And then Moses came down and called on the elders. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, I come to you in a swirl of clouds, because the people have listened to what I spoke to you, and they will also believe in you to the end of the universe. And Moses showed the nations concerns before the Lord, and so forth. Okay. And the Lord commanded Moses, go down and bring Aaron, your brother, with you, and the high priest. Just move me. Okay, he goes down there, blows the horn to get the attention of these people. Go down and bring Aaron, your brother, with you. We'll probably bring up. And the high priest and the people must not wander off and climb toward the Lord, so they may not be killed. Yeah, because if they try to scale that mountain, he'll wipe them out, apparently. Okay, so here's Exodus 20, with the 10 Commandments. Okay, and God confirmed the entire matter. It is I, your Lord, that brought you up from the land of Egypt, from the state of slavery. So we're going to quickly look at the footnote here. Yeah, he states, literal Aramaic idiomatic expression, I am. So here's the I am. Okay. In the ancient Aramaic, Ahia, Ashur, Ahia, which when you translate it, it should read as I, Ashur, I. Or if you want to get technical, in the correct English, I am Asher. Okay, Asher was the title of God by the Assyrians. Okay. This is people that spoke it, wrote it, recorded it. Okay, they're saying that's where it all come from, Asher, and those people that sat on the throne, Ashurbanipal, etc. They took that title, as the Egyptians did of Ra. Okay, not saying that they are a god, it's just they were chosen as regents to sit on their throne, so they took that title. Okay, and these are all these 10 Commandments: honor your father and mother, do not kill, do not fornicate, do not steal, etc. It goes on, right? Okay, so that's what it says basically in the ancient Aramaic, and you would have your translation in the English, okay, which varies. It's a variation. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. It's not of the original manuscripts like these.